Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options and Play video update. So, August's kind of wearing on here, right? Next week will be the last week of the month. Uh, Tomorrow is late August, Friday, and anybody that's been around markets long enough knows that normally that means kind of a you know, possibly, well, possibly a busy morning. Typically a slower afternoon. People, are heading off for vacation. People are heading to the beach, getting away from their desks. The last couple weekends of the summer here. What's interesting about tomorrow is that Powell is going to be speaking at Jackson Hole. Okay, and interestingly enough, this will be his first comments, public comments, since cutting rates back in July. And yes, there has been some Fed speakers in between July and now that have kind of given some comments, but Powell himself, this will be his first time, and we are basically treading water ahead of that. Okay, I mean are basically just kind of dancing in between the 50-day and the 100-day. And I talked about this earlier the week during our option session. I've talked about it in the videos recently, just kind of going over like what the overall setup is of the market is. And to be honest, I mean tomorrow's comments could really determine like the next major move here, because we are just sandwiched smack in the middle of the 50, smack in the middle of the 100. And to me, the 50 is really like the bull line in the sand. When we trade through that, we can trade through that and hold, then that really starts to favor the bulls, and we could start to make a move back towards a 52-week high. Underneath the 100-day, I feel like that favors the bears. I mean, like these are the 100-day specifically is pretty close below, and nowhere near our low from just last week, but just like the line in the sand, right? Like the momentum indicator to me is the 100-day. And why I say the 50-day is because what you saw in June, right? We had like this sharp rip. Once we reset above the 50-day, it led to like the continuation of the trend. So right now you can see we very well, we got very, very close to getting through it. This week we haven't gotten there yet, so we're kind of sandwiched almost perfectly in between that. The Qs, slightly different, but also you can see how significant the 50-day is, right? Qs have now tested it, including today, 7 unique times. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then each day this week. So 7 unique times since August, and have not been able to trade through it. So you can see how big of a level this is shaping up to be. And tomorrow, I mean, and I've read a few notes, people kind of thinking what Powell might say. If you'll remember his last comments when they cut rates, right, and his comments were really what did some damage to the market when they talked about mid-cycle adjustment. So it's not necessarily whether he's going to say they're going to be cutting or maintaining, right, but it's more about the language going forward and how people interpret that. You can watch treasuries, you can watch gold, right, TLT, GLD. I mean, like these things have been on just crazy runs. People are leaning onto the upside on these, so these ones should definitely move too. So in terms of like spider pricing, again, for a late summer Friday, they're looking at about like a 240, 245. So not quite 1%, but a pretty good sized move. So tomorrow, 10 a.m. You want to keep an eye on this. 2.5 points either way would either put us above the 50-day or either right at or potentially below the 100-day. So I mean that could really set the tone for the end of August. So for next week, right? If we break out and run, next week could be a trending week. If we break back below the 100-day, we could have a path down to retest the low from August. So tomorrow is super important. I mean, don't dismiss it. I mean, like, this is going to be a pretty big event, and it really could set the tone for the end of August, maybe even through like the beginning of September, right? I mean, because we won't have the next Fed meeting until later on in September. So this is going to be important. So definitely be sure to be at your desks around 10 a.m. Again, spiders about 240 to 250. That's what they're looking for. That's the straddle that expires tomorrow. The Qs about $1.85 to $1.90. All right. So Qs are looking at just about 1%. Spreaders just a little under 1%. And then, if you wanted, you could look at the treasuries, which I'm sure they'll react to those comments. And same thing with gold and silver, because both gold, silver, and treasuries as well, they've all been really, really keenly sensitive to any sort of rate talk or inflation talk. So definitely a few other names keep on the radar, right? So next week is going to be another heavy retail and software week. This week was heavy retail software. You got more software names tonight. You got more retail names tomorrow. So expect more retail and software because next week is going to be still slammed with those two sectors. So plenty of volatile names still in the docket just before August is up. So we got the Powell statement tomorrow, and then we got earnings next week. So even though we are in the end of August, should be plenty to do next week, all right? So questions or comments, reach out. Love to hear from you. Have a wonderful night, and be sure to be around your desk tomorrow at 10 a.m. because things could be interesting, all right? Have a great night. Talk to you tomorrow.